and we'll actually put you on live, or if you're shy, just go ahead and use the chat and put something in there. And if you've got specific topics that you want to talk about, anything is fair game. I've got some things that we'll talk about if you guys don't have questions and comments. Um, so anyway, I am wearing the garb of one of my alma maters, San Diego State University. And I got that for a Christmas present. And so, um, again, I'm going to look and see, and there are several things coming in from the chat. And um, looks like Alicia, who was on with us yesterday, is in Clover, Virginia, which was fairly cool. Yesterday, here we are talking about bees and hives and honey, and she is in Clover, Virginia. And welcome to her today and to everyone else also. Um, she is with Dr. Robert Fuhr today, and I think you maybe talked to us about him before. Is he on your microphone with you there, Alicia, or put it in the chat if he is. Um, and Robert is out there as one of our regulars and puts a thumbs up for saying hey, and we're in a good place. I just came back from our new headquarters site in Riggins, Idaho, where I spent the last 4 days. And I took a bunch of photos and videos this morning, which I think we'll look at in a second. So I'm looking to see if there's any other questions or comments. I'm going to go to the one that Alicia put in here about rewilding cities in a little bit, but not quite yet. I don't know, from Robert about a webinar. He's telling us about dirty secrets, clean soil, a movement to ban toxic sludge, Tuesday at 2 p.m., 2 p.m. Pacific. What time zone? Oh, online. Join the official launch of the Coalition for Sludge-Free Land. Pretty cool. Tell us a little more about a link for that. Oh, maybe he put it in right after. You know what? He did. He did. It's here. So I have the link for that. MOFGA. I should probably know what that acronym is, but I'm not sure I do. We're going to click on that one real quick. Maine. All right. Maine Organic Farmers and Growers Association. Is that close? Here we go. I'm going to click on this one and then I'll share my screen once this comes up. Oh, it's just registration. So that's not going to help us because it hasn't happened yet. This is a webinar Tuesday. So anyway, it's in the chat and you can pick that up then. And I haven't got the name right, Robert said. Um, so please, any of you, and Mark, don't you see? And by the way, Mark's in Bangladesh. I'm in Nampa, Idaho. Nampa is a suburb of Boise. And I, just as I said, just returned from Riggins, Idaho. Riggins is about a 3.5 hour drive. Actually, Riggins itself is about a 3 hour drive. Lengthened a little bit right now because our major highway, I'm going to actually share a map here. So I'm going to share a screen and show you guys real quick a little bit about geography here of where I'm at. So I got way too many tabs open, by the way, which kind of slows it down at times, but I'm going to put up a Google map. No preference to Google here, by the way. I use Apple Maps sometimes, and I use Waze at other times, and it's loading here. Mark, say hi to everybody. Mark's in Bangladesh.
Hi, yes. Hello, everybody from Bangladesh.
What's the weather today?
It's hot and humid.
Oh,
Um,
He's 12 hours different, everybody.
Right. It's 3 a.m. in the morning here.
So this
And
is the site that I'm going to talk about in a minute here, right here on the Salmon River. That's the Salmon River. And I'll zoom out a little. I'm going to move my screen over this way. Interestingly, it looks like you can actually, there's a place to view right here that you can see wow, is that cool? There's viewing right across the river from us. We'll see what the dates on that are. A street view. I wonder why let's see when it comes up. There we go, now it's loading. So that is looking across the river, I believe. Oh, it's actually out in the river. Oh, so cool. Um, this is our site over here. All of what you see across from there. So all of this and all up here, all of this. This is one of the benches, flatter area, where in the very near future, we're going to build right about here a store and a place that people coming down river, which it looks like these people are. Gosh, Peter will vote. I'm gonna real quickly, guys. Peter, I am great, and I'm on a webinar right now where I'm hosting. Um, it really should. We got a whole bunch of people in the audience. So, yeah, again, well, I'd love to. I mean, maybe even I've just got you on my watch right now, and I'll switch to my phone, and we can do that without maybe I think we can get this to work. Let me just see here. I can get,
a lot of people, but that, I mean, if you like.
or do you have stuff you want to share with me privately? We can just do that separately.
Well,
So
I just like to bring up to date with some real steps forward up here in Canada and Nova Scotia. And
go ahead,
so
do it. I am listening, all ears right now here.
yeah,
So,
well, I mean, I don't mean to take you away from your thing there.
it is Talk with Wayne, and you are now a guest talking with Wayne. So
Okay.
nothing.
Do you want me to try to explain who I am, or do you want me to just tell you what's going on?
No, tell the audience because they don't know who you are.
Yeah,
if you would.
Yeah, well, as it relates to the Institute of Economics, and for a number of years, I worked with Dennis Weaver. I was interim executive director. I was, anyway, I was on the board. We worked together. I worked literally with him at his place in Colorado and developed a lot of things and just worked hard at it. But right now, I'm living in Cape Breton Island in Nova Scotia. And of course, with what's going on in the United States, and food and housing, well, all over the world is a big issue. And what I'm working on, one of my specialties in terms of economics is passive solar straw bale house design and building. I've not only do I design, but I've built a number of them, and the beauty is that they perform incredibly. So what I'm working on now is setting up in Canada, the median cost, the price of a single family home, I think it's right around 650,000 Canadian. which is, maybe 540 or something, or they're American, but most people, especially people starting out, have no chance of, they have a hard time just affording the rental units because there's such a press. But I won't get into all the causes of why it's such a problem. I'm more into solutions. And so anyway, I have 175 acres of timberland and pasture land here, and I'm working on setting up very simple straw bale homes that use frost-free shallow foundations, which you don't need to dig down, and they're good in the north. And using the local timber, my associate, who is also on the board of the Institute, his name is Tom Lucas, PhD. He and I, one of our main tenets is things should not leave an area without being value added. So what we're working on doing is use as much as possible using what's here. Right. I'm in the process of harvesting timber, and we're getting a sawmill and things, but there's a good chance I'll use some of the local sawmill people. I'm 76. I'm not in, although I just went out and cut timber today. And so anyway, we're working on the biggest problem is getting the government to loosen up. Their regulations are extremely strict, and to a large extent, I believe the regulations are the way they are to make sure that the corporations, like the big hardware or lumber stores like Kent, well, of course you wouldn't know that Kent was so big. Anyway, that they have it so that you cannot build except with stamped lumber from big companies and whatever. Well, I'm working on workarounds for all that, and one of them is I build with full tree. Well, actually, I mill them on one side, but anyway, I use them as structural uprights and do a post and beam. This is way too big to tell you that much about it, but.
Do you have a website?
No, I'm just me.
Okay.
You know? No, I
So
don't have a
so
website.
how much would a house that you build with the design that you're describing cost approximately, and how big would it be?
Well, I'm about to build two models. One of them is 48 by 24. That's a little less than 1,200 square feet on it, and the other one is 36 by 24. In Canada, people are living in little travel trailers and huts and things. I mean, don't get it wrong. It's not like it's a third, but the house, coming up with good, safe, efficient, environmentally sound housing is very difficult under the regulations. But because of what Trump is doing with tariffs and everything else, the Carney, the prime minister, and who will probably be the coming prime minister, the first thing he did after he became prime minister after Trudeau stepped down, the former prime minister, he had a 2-hour press conference about housing and how they were going to lighten up and whatever. So anyway, I'm also looking at starting.
So again, approximately how much will that 48 by 24 foot home?
I'm still working on that, but it's going to probably be about a quarter of what the conventional way of doing things. Well, not a quarter, more like a half. But no, I don't have the numbers yet, partially because I need to make sure I'm working on working with architects and whatever to make sure that I can get it passed through the extreme regulations.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of variables to that. I'm not quite there yet.
Why is a place that has very green attitudes have such strict regulations for something that's clearly green?
Well, I don't really know. It seems like they are extremely rule oriented. I mean, it adhere to the rules almost to the nth degree. I've had an incredible time with building inspectors, and you know they tend to. I don't know. I hate to say this, guy, because I hope none of them hear me, but it's sort of like overzealous enforcement of rules. So why I don't know. It's
Okay.
just sort of the nature of the situation. But people are getting to the point where they realize that that's a real impediment. One of the big things that slows things down is there are numerous communities that are having a terrible time because of the way that the way that society deals with our waste, our poop and our pee. You know, we mix it with the good water, and then you got to figure out something to do with it that doesn't contaminate your water. And you have to. I'm a real humanure advocate. So anyway, I didn't really plan on giving a
Oh, no,
speech or
that's
a
fine.
lecture.
We'll talk another time. I've got a lot more
Yeah.
to be talking about, and we've got a lot of a lot
Okay.
of audience, but Peter, awesome that you would come on. And so why don't you hang out and listen? I'm gonna ask one other person that's on here if they'd be willing to talk to us for a little bit. Kendra, unmute yourself. Say hi to everybody. I'm being tough on her because she's a partner of ours and she's in Texas at a place we call Resilient Texas. And we're going to actually be doing some things to make it very economic. And by the way, these photos, Mark, are the photos from my screen showing now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we see.
These were taken this morning, all right, which
Okay.
is pretty cool.
Right.
And you were seeing some things from on the Salmon River in a raft a little bit earlier, and then from the road going across and seeing our bridge and going across to our location. And those were in June and I think October, and you could see, and October of last year, which we actually took residence at this location in November, so just soon after. But look how beautiful some of our grounds are here at this location. This is a place that is a bench that's down at the, oh, here we go. I'll let this play. So you're probably not hearing this, but it's I'm actually going to mute the sound. There we go. This is about a half acre down here on a bench that is about 20 feet elevation wise below this entry road into our property. And here we are. This is the stop of this little video. And this is a place where we're very seriously thinking of using it for one of our economic sites. So what do I mean by saying economic sites? The goal for this location and for others that we're going to work with, including the one that I just briefly just mentioned in Texas, and we have others that we're going to be working with all around the country. And guess what? One of them might be yours if you've got one that you'd like to put into this mix. But this location right now, for example, if something happened in a catastrophic sort of means, we have all the food we need to live indefinitely. We have all the water we need to live indefinitely. We have all the shelter we need to live indefinitely. We have all the clothing we need to live indefinitely. And that could be for a community of approximately 100 people, somewhere in that range. And right now we have 4 people that live on this site because we just acquired it. And the economic model is a very simple one. which is that we want people to be here who have business ideas and want to start their businesses at this location, and that those, we will vet those, we'll evaluate them. So we're going to be picking and choosing which of those partners that we want to have here. And because we want to make sure that whatever they bring as a business, that it is compatible with the land, it is regenerative, it makes the land better, which is the definition of ecolonomics that Dennis Weaver developed as he invented the word back in 1993, which is showing people how to make money making the planet better, and make a little bit of money, by the way, not just to make a fortune or whatever, make an appropriate amount of money. We believe that on this site, we can have as many as 30 to 50 different businesses that are economic. We've done this twice before. We've done it in Colorado, in the Buena Vista area in the early 2000s, late 1990s and early 2000s, before I'd even heard of the word economics, by the way. And then we did it at Mountain Sky Ranch in Colorado, also in the foothills, where we also had heard of economics by that time. And Scott Fardulis, who was a board member, introduced me to Dennis in the year before he died, unfortunately, of cancer. And Dennis asked us after he died to take over and continue to shepherd. And Jerry was with us as a board member, his wife, until she died. And Linda Gray was also a member. Peter, as he mentioned, was in the early days. We actually met with Peter in Joplin, which was also a place that Dennis actually grew up and spent time in, and we picked up a bunch of the records. And so we've got thousands of hours of video of different things. Most of it's been viewed at least one time or another, but we're going to actually even do more to show it. And the idea, again, economics, take an idea and show people how to make a little money with it, making the planet better. So what could be some of those 30 businesses? And we're looking for partners, people like you that would come here, live here, and make your business work. Chicken farming, for example, beekeeping, for example, a sawmill, for example, rock farming, so using an abundance of stone that's here in an economic way. All kinds of services, all kinds of farming, literally because of the elevation here, the climate here, and the hot water. We have 118-degree water coming out of the ground. Let's see, I think I'll go back here a couple slides. Right back behind this car, that's actually a little bit of it running across the driveway we have here. And then a bunch of it's going down the hill, but most of it's going over here to what is a hot tub and a pool area at 108 degrees. It comes out of the ground right back here at 118 degrees. It is drinkable. It's potable. It does have a little bit of an elevated sulfur level, which gives it a smell a little bit. But otherwise, it has no elevated levels of some caustic things like arsenic and others that can be in hot springs water. And we're going to be using that for, again, all kinds of different ventures, including one of the very earliest, and we are actively looking for somebody to be our partner in aquaculture. And we can do two things in the very early stages: duckweed in pools and in natural ecosystems, as well as ornamental fish. And you go, well, why those? Well, ornamental fish that are bought by pet stores all throughout the world, really, all throughout the United States at least, come from Asia for the most part. And they are then brought over, sold for ridiculous amounts of money to the pet stores, and then the pet stores mark them up and sell them to the public. Unfortunately, most of them die pretty quickly because they are not used to the water that we'll have here in the United States because they came from a source of water from Asia and so on. Even just fancy goldfish will do that, koi, as they're called. Well, we're going to be growing them in the same kind of water that they'd have in other parts of the country in the Pacific Northwest, and we'll be selling to about 100 different pet stores in the Pacific Northwest. And we're looking for a partner right now to help us do that. I know how to do it. I have done it, but I don't have the time. And frankly, we need another person. This is our lodge over here to the right, where we have 12 different rooms with private baths that would be lodging for people who would live here on a temporary basis before they would build their own, or we would help them build their own homes or living circumstances, or they could live off site, of which there are a number of different places in the area that can be done. Let's see, let's keep going back. This is just a view of where the hot water, eventually you have to picture it, and I don't have depictions of it here yet, but picture there being stone like this surrounding tubs, natural water ponds where people can bathe, because there is a wellness element to this water. The Native Americans, the Nez Perce Native American tribe, called this site Winkasha. Winkasha means healing waters when translated into English, because the Nez Perce would come from all over the Pacific Northwest with different injuries they had or different illnesses, and they were very convinced that there was a healing power to either bathing in, drinking, or using the mud that you see some of here as a coating on your body, dermal application of the water. Mark, this is my puppy, by the way, and this is my place in Nampa. I'm kind of proud of her. She did something pretty neat at a event last week. So, by the way, this is 1,800 feet here. In total, maybe we had an inch of snow over the winter. This can be a wine growing region. There is literally not a fruit tree that will not grow in the climate that we have here. This is be similar to Napa, Sonoma in the California area in terms of climate. But right up here, this is about 1,000 feet higher, that peak is, there would be snow when this would not have even freezing temperatures. And I don't have any other pictures right here of the mountains around it. Well, these back here in a distance are considerably more than 1,000 feet higher. That's probably 1,500 to 1,700 feet higher. This one over here is a couple thousand feet higher. We do have one neighbor that's across the river from us, and they operate a cattle operation. So this is a feedlot area, which is not the way that I would like to have cattle. But they're not there year round. They're only there in the winter. They're naturally grown. They use organic feeds and hay. And then there's a helicopter operation right over here. That's not why I was taking this picture. And we're going to go back to this Google map here. And that is our access, a bridge going across the Salmon River to our location. So I'm going to go down to where that is, where we're almost to it. That's about 600 feet long. It's a suspension bridge. It's narrow, one lane, which is a little problematic, but the reality is not a huge problem. This, by the way, was all taken before, like I said, it's in October of 24 when it had just sold to us, and there was still a for sale sign up here, and we took over November 1st. So very quickly after this, sorry about the sun here, but that is on all of those hills are on the property for this place. So just be thinking about all kinds of activities that we could have business wise here. So here's that bench that we were taking, that some of those photos that I had earlier is from right down here, where a person's home could be, because we want about a community of 100 people living here. And then we want to develop these kind of sites all over the country, that are over around the world. And we think having hot water could be a real benefit, because then you can be growing things year round by mixing. In our case, we have water rights to cold water from the Salmon River, as well as from a stream that's coming, and I'll go down the road here further. Let's keep going this way. A little bit further and past the Carlsons. That's their hangar for their. Mark, if there's questions and comments, make sure that I get to them.
Okay. And by the way, Kendra is unmuted. If she wants, she can speak into the microphone.
Kendra, you're unmuted. If you'd like, say something to us, talk with us a little. Kendra is our partner who's going to be coming out and visiting the site here in less than a month. And then we're going to be working and developing her site in a similar way to this. By the way, Kendra, there are, in this RV park that's right across that the Carlson have, you're going to be seeing them in a minute, some amazing little tiny homes that are used for overnight lodging. There's one right there, right there. There it is. And it's got a little storage shed next to it for things. And this is mainly short-term lodging, although it could be full-time, longer-term lodging. And then we're right across the way over there. Sun's not in a good spot in these pictures. I'm going to show you that bench that I was showing from those earlier pictures. Let's back up a little ways and get out of the sun. That is right there. That's about an acre right down there. And we will build a road right about here coming down. That's only about 30 feet elevation difference between that and this bench. Any other questions in the chat, Mark?
I don't see questions yet. Alicia has some links in there so people can check them out.
Remember, this was done in October of 24, and look at these mountains. This is easily 3,000 feet higher than us, maybe 4, because in October even of last year, look at the snow that was up on those. And that, as the crow flies, maybe is 5 miles from here, but obviously a lot higher elevation. And, even in October, there was some snow, and yet, like I said, we got in total about an inch of snow last winter. Never had to do any plowing or anything with it. Just didn't need it. Come back this way. And, by October, it was beginning to be fallish. Trees were losing their leaves and other things. So, and we've changed the name now from the Lodge at Riggins Hot Springs, when this was built to be a resort for people to come and just visit, to the community at Riggins Hot Springs, where we want people to come here and live and have a life and be resilient and be not just members of the community that are here, but also of the Riggins community and more broadly the Idaho community, and the nation and world community. But just picture if we could do this at hundreds of sites around the world over time. I probably won't live long enough to see that happen, but others of you would be able to. So again, a lot really quickly here. Give me some thoughts, people from the audience. So. Increase my Google image here and stop sharing. Am I still sharing, Mark?
We still see your screen.
Let's let's that's fine. We can stick with it. I guess I could stop sharing. Not sure how they
Yeah, you
change
can.
all the time, everybody. So
Yes. Yeah, there should be a red button on top of your screen
on
that
top.
says,
Okay.
yeah, it should say stop right there on the top.
Huh. Wonder where that is. Everybody's being shy. Um, hey, Doug. Doug's out there. Doug won't be
Yeah,
shy.
Doug's.
Doug
Yeah.
actually, Doug, when's your event just happened? Doug did a live event about his living off the grid in Alaska. Um, Tuesday night, I think, Doug. I was up here at Riggins, so I wasn't able to come, but he'll say something in a second here.
Yeah, he's unmuted.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it was Tuesday night. Yeah.
Cool.
And
How'd it go?
yeah, it went real well. It's really I enjoy doing it, and it's very educational for people, and everybody has a great time because life can get kind of funny. It's not your normal reality TV stuff in Alaska. It's real life in Alaska. And I might be doing one here in a couple weeks, also in Eagle before I head back to Alaska. But I'll be doing quite a few of those next winter, so we'll keep you posted. And
Awesome.
I'm doing them for more and more as time goes on. And yeah, and looking forward to getting back up there. And yeah. Mhm.
I gotta say something here. Robert kicked in on the chat. Be careful about the use, and then audiences, of the word resilience. Believe it or not, it's lately an official list of do not use from those in charge in DC. I'd love to see evidence of why you're saying that, Robert. I can't imagine. The definition of resilience, by the way, is very simple. And it can apply to all kinds of things. It can apply to a car, for example, a vehicle, all right? Which, let's just say, what is a resilient car? A resilient car would be one that in the good times, when, let's say, its engine's running fine, its transmission is good shape, that it runs just fine. It gets everything done in a very good fashion for its owner. But here's the real key. If it's bad times, something breaks down, it still can get you to the destination. Maybe not quite in the same way. That would be resilient. And I'm not quite sure why that's a word that wouldn't be appreciated by the current government and those people in charge. But anyway, just a comment from Robert there.
Yeah, is it one of the Trump policies?
I didn't use the word Trump. So again, you did. There is a government right now that's different than the one that was previous, and everybody has different. We don't want to be political here. That's not the point. But I'm not sure why that word would be something difficult. Anyway, because it's pretty capitalistic, quite honestly, which would mean that it should have some. I've told people that I am a ecology very liberal, and I'm an economic conservative, and that's a kind of different sort of person. And I'm also a very conservative as in a spirituality side, but very liberal as it relates to the earth and dealing with it in an economic sort of way. And there's lots of ways to do that. And I don't know why the word resilience would be bad. But Doug, what did you find that people enjoyed most? What did you get the most questions on and such about your talk?
Just mostly how you generate your own electricity and how you get things there. The logistics of it is pretty fascinating,
Yeah,
and how you make it work because you got to do the same things you do when you live any place, but how you do it is what the whole different world is. Mhm.
yeah, cool. I've told you here, we're going to create electricity primarily from a stream that we have almost half CFS of water rights for, that we've now seen run long enough to know that it, even during the lowest of flows, it'll give us more than a half of CFS. Well, using what's called a Pelton, not Peloton, which would be a place, it's a bike word, but generator, very old. I mean, they've been around forever. We can generate all the electricity that we need for this site from way less than a half CFS, probably in the third of a CFS range. And I don't think we've talked about this. You unfortunately don't have a running water supply right on your site to do that with. So
No,
you generate your power in different ways.
yeah, solar and then a generator.
Yeah.
Lot of solar.
Have you tried biodiesel at all to fuel the generator? Is it a gasoline or diesel powered generator?
It's diesel. Because of where we're at, some of the alternative fuels are, just more complicated to get when you would in a more populated area.
Mhm. Cool. Well, Kendra, you are unmuted. You should say something. She's usually very willing to talk, and she's being quiet right now. Steve was on with us last week, and we talked about, no, yesterday actually, because Steve's a beekeeper, and we had a great webinar yesterday, Doug, with this guy that Brian Margulis, who has a combination business with a food truck business in the Boston area, but using a whole variety of recipes in his menu. But his primary one is grilled cheese sandwiches and honey. So honey from different beekeepers around the Boston area, all different kinds of tastes and types, which is pretty cool.
Honey on the grilled cheese sandwich, did you say?
Yes, grilled cheese and honey.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Our two friends of mine are going to have the first bees out in that area that anybody's ever had, at least within 100 miles.
Oh, wow. That'll
Yeah.
be cool.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do that, so I'm going to watch them. I think you're going to have 4 or 5 hives, and it's 2 different people, and they'll be going to learn what's going. It's almost excuse me, it's almost impossible to have them overwinter because of the severe conditions.
Yeah, you would think
Yeah.
that. That's for sure.
But they're pretty prolific in Alaska. We have so many wild flowers,
Right.
minute wild flowers, that they really produce honey very, very well. And so I'm going to watch that close. I've wanted to do that for some time. It'd be pretty fascinating. They're
And
amazing.
one thing they better watch out for, because when we did it in Colorado at a much, I'm going to say, safer circumstance as it relates to predators, we put our hives, and we had 6, I think, on pallets. We put 6-foot chain link fences around them because everybody told us you need to protect them from bears.
Yeah,
Guess ultimately got them, bears.
black bears. Yeah.
They took it down like it wasn't even there.
Yeah,
And
it will. I'm not sure how they're going to do that. I'm more than likely I'm going to put mine on top of one of my roofs.
yes, yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that otherwise they produced awesome. And we've actually done several webinars with a lady named Beth Conroy. Beth was the president of the National Beekeepers Group for a time period. She's in Berthoud, Colorado. She has about 80 hives at maybe 4 different locations. And has in the northern Colorado high altitude, low rainfall circumstance there. So, so obviously that's going to be hopefully where somebody will raise their hand and want to do that here in our area, at our site. So, how far away from you is the hives that you talked about that one of your neighbors is going to have?
Across the lake, 4
Across
miles. Yeah, about 4 miles away.
the-
Yeah, it'd be fun to watch. Yeah. They are just an amazing creature.
Yeah, they really are. And everything they do, all the way from the way the queen is. I mean, I think they're a type, quite honestly, of God. And the type, meaning they're kind of like that, just like I talk about rock climbing, that when a person is belaying someone else and basically helping them climb, that belayer is a type of God, or what the supreme being would be, because you, as the climber, really have to rely on that person to keep you alive at times.
Yeah.
And you many times don't even know what they're doing to help you. So anyway, and I think the queen in a bee circumstance is a lot like that. And there are cues that the bees get to move a hive, for example, to another location because of struggles, whatever, where they're at, that come from, maybe just pheromones that are coming, or which is odor and such, coming from the queen.
Yeah.
So I don't, I'm not a real great bee guy, but do you do any, you don't need to because you got so much water, rainwater harvesting up there?
Me, we have one gutter that we just put a bucket on just so there's some water right there for flowers because the water is so cold coming out of the lake. Instead of having to let it set, we have a 20-gallon bucket at the end of a rain spout, so we have warmer water for flowers, for the flowers and lettuce and
Uh-huh.
gar- Mhm.
Um, I'm going to go back because tomorrow I'm driving over to Central Oregon to do something, and I'm going to show a picture here. So Mark, tell me when my photos are back up. Are they back up again now?
Yes, we see your photos.
Yeah. So that's rigging still, but I'm going to go backwards here. Okay. This is a field event that was going on in Idaho, actually very close to us. This is out at milepost 9, Doug, on 95 in the Owahis. And this is sort of a campground for about 4 days for about
Oh,
100 people that are here for a dog event. So there's somebody's trailer, obviously. There's a horse trailer with a in the front of it. There's another one. Okay. Um, and I think I'll have some more. There's that fellow is a breeder of my dogs, and that's a pointer puppy that he has. There's another horse trailer with a living quarters up in the front of it. Here's just a horse trailer. Again, here's just a camping trailer. I'm going back a little bit more because this is still there. So this looking like the Owahis a little more, Doug. I don't know if I have that.
yeah. Yep.
And I took a picture of that young lady here because she's a University of California, Irvine, which I am also. And I'm friends with her dad. Oh, her dad is in the previous picture. That's her dad, Larry Sandusky. Um, and again, there's a living quarters with that awning, and then the dogs in the back. This is actually a video where I was showing it around the camp living quarter. And I'm showing this just because people don't even know this kind of stuff exists. So that this is done mostly for people's pleasure, but the reality is you could basically live out of these things. And some of these people do, but they come from all over the Pacific Northwest. There's a tent somebody put up, a van that's converted. This is actually the club, the Idaho Brittany Club. This is their tent that we had 7 different meals that were prepared. We all brought food, and then we have a grill that's back here behind. Here's an old 1957 Shasta trailer, which is really cool. This is the only thing we really brought from kind of a commercial source outside, which is an outhouse, just so we'd have it be able to be clean. And you can see at a little higher elevation in the Owahis, that's snow right up there. And this is actually 4,000 feet. So, 2,200 feet higher than Boise, Nampa area.
Very cool.
Just show the video. It's got about another minute on it, just showing the area. This is a guy, Scott, who I've gotten to know, and his dog that's getting ready to go. He just came back from competing. He's probably telling me, there's my truck. That's my dog truck, and I sleep up in that tent up above the truck. It's going to keep going. I was going to mainly get to something completely different here. We'll get to in just a minute. I'll just go back more. All right, to this, because I haven't asked you about this. This is my new horse. This is Yeti, and Yeti is what is called a saddlebred horse, which means he's gaited. He has a very nice, comfortable walk, and fairly small. And I was worried about that. I was worried that he'd be too small for me. He's about a little under 15, 14 3/4. But I rode this saddle on him, which I have one a lot like this. This is called an English, actually English endurance saddle. So it's made to ride long distances comfortably. Notice doesn't have a horn, but it's got a place to actually hold with your hand in the front of it. Yet he's 12, and I'm picking him up in Oregon this next weekend. I think I've got several other just angles showing him. This is in Washington, so this is taken from 2 weeks ago, Ritzville, Washington area, and that's his stable mate. But my question was going to be to you, how many horses do you see up there that your neighbors have and so on? And if they do, are they because they're useful or just because they're there for pleasure and such? Are they used to go to travel and to go places and such? Would you use them on a trap line or anything? Anyway.
Is that a question to me, Wayne?
Yes, to you.
Yeah. Out where we're at, I don't know of any horses in Western Alaska, but in Central Alaska, there is a lot of horses. Everybody's got horses. There's tens of thousands of horses. And that actually, they have a lot of problems with that too, because some of the native communities will take horses and they'll use them for the hunting and then they leave them. And so the sheriff of Canyon County here, Kieran Donahue, who's been the sheriff now for 8 years, he actually rescued horses in Alaska, was part of his law enforcement job for a while, and a lot of stories with that. Boy.
Oh,
but there are a lot of horses, surprisingly, because they grow a lot of hay, and there are hunting. I don't know about trapping, but some of the hunting camps will have them. But it's a challenge because the weather will come in and they got to be really careful they can get back out again.
right. Yeah, you wouldn't want to try to overwinter one at all. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, this is Yeti's going to be my new horse, and
So what breed is that, Wayne?
He's a saddlebred, which is an American breed, relatively new, that was bred quarter horse and probably a warm blood, like an Arabian or something, some maybe 50 years ago or more, to have a smooth gait when they walk. So walking motion, you don't have to really concentrate on, keeping weight on your stirrups rather than on the seat. You can literally just put your weight on the seat, have your feet in the stirrups to just really hold your, and they'll be very smooth on trails. And they have high endurance. Anyway.
Your Tennessee Walker similar to that too, Wayne?
Yes, that's what, if you remember, Doug, that's what we had before. And I've been looking for a walker and not been able to find one. By the way, I took this because these are bird crates that you can buy on Amazon for $50. They can be used for chickens. They can be used for a wide variety of poultry moving. And they're very small, so probably 24 inches by 18, I think, by about 8 here. So a hen could go in them. These were being used to put chucker in that were used in this competition. let's continue to keep this running while I'm just talking over it. Because the other thing it's going to show in a second here is a poultry pen that was set up temporarily here, and you can even see all the details about it, but not for poultry. These are chucker. So those are chucker right down there. And even this sport is a colonomic because this is an area in central Washington where chucker are found naturally, and chucker are an induced and not a native species to this area, but they've been brought in long ago, and therefore they're almost like native, and they do very well. Let's quickly, as it gets back to the chucker, and stop it here for a second. These are fairly young, probably they're mature and they fly amazing, but they'll double in this from this size. Very great eating, especially if they're not just feeding on sage, if they're feeding on grasses. They love cheatgrass, Doug. So they're actually have a weed removal. They actually do better in cheatgrass than they do in just any other kind of a grass situation. Cheatgrass is a really negative, invasive species.
Yeah.
I'm going to be raising them up at Riggins. And there's a local supplier called Northwest Game Birds. But I hadn't really figured out what I wanted to use for a cage. That's why I took this video, because this is now at least an option for me.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I want to use it long term, but it's a temporary option. So I was kind of showing just all the pieces, parts of it here. There you can kind of see there's two of them, and they're about 325 each, I guess. I haven't looked them up yet, but so 650 for the two of them.
That's pretty good price.
Yeah. And that's from Tractor Supply. So which is a local store that's around here now. So she's going in there to collect some of these, and she'll put them in those bags, and then take them out on a horse, on riding out, and put them out where the dogs are going to be going. And the goal is to have them point them. And we don't shoot them, then they remain there. So this is economic because we're enhancing, so you can see the Fish and Game loves what we do and such, because we're enhancing the population. So that's kind of what that's about. I also now have, I think, some views of this camp, which is again where I was at 2 weeks ago. That was actually the tent where they made food again for everybody. This is a company out of Alaska, Doug. Have you heard of this one? It's called Learn to Return Survival Training, based out of Anchorage, but they do things, I guess, around the state. I haven't checked them out yet. This guy had attended one of their week-long sessions to learn how you can survive just if something negative happens to you out in the wild.
Yeah, there's quite a few of those organizations up there. Pretty common.
My house and three of my dogs. And I think it was probably taken the same day. This is my two Britneys laying next to each other. They hate each other, as you can see. Not really, they love each other. And then our house with one of our last fires of the winter. We haven't had it. This has been a pretty mild winter, hasn't it, Doug? I'm
Oh yeah, real mild. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Mark, any other? We're right at the top of the hour, but before we go, are there any other questions or people's thoughts?
Some comments here. Robert says, great chicken crates. Okay.
Yeah, and they're very inexpensive relatively for being brand new. And we put those four together, two of us, in about 5 minutes. Okay, very easy, and they're $49 on Amazon. So
All right.
a bad price.
Okay.
Here's the Alaska Horse Rescue, Doug. Somebody's put in the chat.
Right.
Pretty cool.
Urban Farming 101. Okay.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that, Alicia. We'll get a guest that will talk
Yes.
about it. I mean, farming more than, and that's a very great idea. So Doug, what's your timing for heading north?
I leave on the 16th of May.
And Marge?
She comes up on the 21st of May.
Okay. We're
Yeah.
doing a cruise where it's mainly for Deb to do art from Seattle to Juneau and back.
Oh, wow.
It's
That'll be beautiful.
in June. So late-ish June. So 21st, I think, through the 28th, something like
Yeah,
that.
you'll only be about 1,000 miles from our place.
You know, it will be close. I've never done that, never done a cruise, and really never been in the inland sound area there.
Yeah.
I've been to Juneau, and I've been to obviously the southern end, which is Seattle, and then Vancouver Island and such, but never just going through that inland sound area.
Yeah, that's a great cruise you're going to go on. That's fascinating. All the islands and the glaciers and the wildlife.
Yeah, and
It's
I don't
good.
have any other reason to be there than other from having fun, because Deb's doing the art.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Ha,
well,
ha.
so it's going to be fun. Well, everybody, thank you. Great audience. Appreciate you guys. I don't have any reason to think why we wouldn't be on next Thursday. Sometimes now I'm in the middle of my dog competition season, and so I leave in the morning for Madras, Oregon, Doug, which is north of Bend about. So it's a 6-hour drive from here, from the
Oh. Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's a sagebrush area, a lot like you saw, like the
Sure.
Oahu, you know, a lot
Yeah.
of lower elevation. But they've been having freezing. There it froze last night there, and
Okay.
so we get frost this late? I mean, Deb's rule of thumb, she says, if there's still snow on Bogus, there's still
Yeah.
we could get a frost. Is that?
Yeah, you can get frost. It wasn't that many days ago, we had frost here. So you could still have it. It's getting less and less chance, but you still can.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thanks everybody, and we appreciate